Okay, Floor Explorer here. We're at Kennedy Space Center. We're in the section of Kennedy Space Center known as the Rocket Garden, which is obvious from all the rockets. All these rockets, with the exception of this one, were initially built to work. They were operational at one point. This is a replica. This is the only one that's a replica, and this is a replica of the Mercury Atlas rocket, which was used to propel John Glenn into space. And of course, these were this was back in the day of disposable rockets, boosters. The capsules are on display, very well protected in Smithsonian Institute Museum of Space, and I forget what the exact name of it, but it's the Air and Space Museum in DC. I've been there a bunch of times. Incredible place. Hope to get to go in a couple more weeks. I haven't been there for quite a few years. All right, this is a Mercury Redstone. This was used to shoot Alan Shepard into space, the first American into space. Of course, it wasn't this exact rocket, but this rocket was built as, as backup, an alternative. It was built back in the day, and if the first one, the one that he went on, the failed, might have well gone on this one. These are all military, had military applications, ICBMs, built for the Cold War to combat the Russian threat, and were adapted for space exploration. This was used to, it's the Delta rocket, this was used to put satellites into space.
And would like to join us, please come right along. With this PA system, you're going to be forced to listen no matter where you are.
This is a Juno.
So let's walk on across, and I'm going to find us a shady spot over in the garden as well. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is John. I'm on staff in the Education Department, and it is my privilege to provide this tour of the rocket garden.
This was also for satellites.
Real rockets, except the Mercury Atlas with the 109B.
This is the Saturn 1B. The early precursor of the Saturn V, which we're going to go see later, which is the biggest rocket booster ever.
Which was the first rocket from the United States designed
ever built. This thing is just massive. I mean, it's just phenomenally incredible.
Here we were, the United States locked in what was called the Cold War.
They initially learned that
both countries wanted to.
The fuel had to heat up before they could just let it go, and so they learned to have these clamps. And this is laying down, of course, but it was initially standing up. But they learned to have these clamps on here until on each one of these little arms on the fins to hold on to the rocket until the fuel heated up to where it could propel, get enough thrust to propel into space without falling over. Because that's basically what was happening before, and they didn't quite figure that out right away.
We used a modified Jupiter C, and to emphasize our purposes in space being peaceful, we renamed it as Juno, like the one with the UV on the side. The whole satellite contained in that little pencil point.
This thing is just incredible.
It weighed in at 34 pounds, and it had not only a radio transmitter and battery pack, it also had a miniaturized Geiger counter and temperature probes. Magnetic field to make it possible for life to exist on Earth because we weren't being bombarded by those high energy particles in space. Well, we sent this object up.
223 feet long, 2/3 the size of it. This is the most amazing thing that I've seen so far. Right here.
Information gathered then is still important to us in the placement of certain satellites and equipment.
This is the original service
Our next
on
effort was to move to
that
a
Neil
slightly
Armstrong,
larger rocket that can take it from
Michael
the
Collins, and Buzz Aldrin walked
created with
across
the name we called this one Juno 2.
to go to the moon. First people land on the moon. Apollo 11. We're going to walk through it just like they did. This is the exact one. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. This is the walk they would have taken 30 stories above Saturn, walking over to a Saturn V, the module on top of a Saturn V rocket. This is the White Room. They would have made their final check. And that's the capsule. Get an idea of how tight it was in there. There wasn't a lot of room.
Climate check spacesuits and assist the astronauts into their flight positions. We hooked them up to essential communications and life support systems and sealed them. With their final systems checked, they wrote.
This is a mock-up of an Apollo spacecraft. It's obviously not a real one. This is just not even a simulator. It's just gives you an idea of how tight everything was. If you didn't get it from the other capsule, it's a real capsule. This is the outside of the capsule we just saw. Just the windows have become glazed over the years.
Push the right button. Maybe we could train astronauts to do that. And so our astronauts became pilots rather than the passive role of passengers, was true of the cosmonauts in the Submariner. While we were doing that, we got our next big embarrassment, the next big boost in publicity for the Soviets, as they announced that a gentleman by the name of Yuri Gagarin had gone up and gone around and come down safely. Missing from the original press release was the fact that he came down by parachute because they weren't sure they could land the capsule. But they told us that about 10 years later. Oh, didn't we mention that? Oh, sorry about that. Now, it was only 3 weeks after the Gagarin flight that we took a little Redstone rocket like the one with the red United States on the side. We replaced the warhead with a one-person Mercury capsule on top of an escape rocket just in case.
For
Alan Shepard crawled inside.
F1 engine.
He went up 116 miles. He went out over the ocean 300 miles. Full trip
Saturn V
F1. When he got up high enough to qualify as America's first baby. Only 20 days later,
so
President John Kennedy challenged the United States
would have had
to land on the moon and bring him home safely before 1970. And we did it. This is how it happened. The vast majority of Americans were on board with the idea. There was a lot of public support. And Congress ended up allocating 5%.
Doesn't say how many there were, but there would have been
budget to NASA.
Well, there's probably 8 or 10 on that one, and that one's smaller. So each one of these would have.
Now, with that money, NASA went out and hired companies
to produce an enormous amount of thrust.
We had contractors with us to work with. We continued to do batteries for time. But at one point, we had over 440,000 people working on all things.
I don't think I came to this one yet.
Engineers and all that. But it also included a very large number of construction.
This is another Juno satellite booster. Sent satellites into space. Most impressive for me are the first ones over here. The Mercuries and the Atlas, the
And as we were building all of this, we were continuing to
incredible.
various sites of human farming. A lot of it is
This is a Delta. I think we saw this one earlier.
John Glenn and around here, 3 orbits. And Glenn is test pilot turned astronaut.
It's an Agena.
Scientist.
Hold on, this is an Atlas rocket. The Agena was
Some people are
the
saying, we don't know if you can swallow without gravity.
part of the Gemini program,
We don't know if
apparently.
you can digest without gravity. Others were saying, for goodness sake, it's muscles, not gravity that does this, but that was an open question for some people. And so we sent along some little tubes, like toothpaste tubes, filled with applesauce. And while in orbit, Glenn had the responsibility to
Here's
use
the other
the
side.
applesauce
That was the Agena.
Big science news, folks. You can swallow it without gravity. Just 3 months later, Scott Carpenter went up on an identical piece of equipment, but this time we put a series of sutures across his stomach. We added a radioactive material to the applesauce. Please don't ask me for details. Just take my word for it that we proved you can digest in space. And in a
This was the Titan II. This was an ICBM. That was adapted for the Gemini program.
Subcompact car, and they stayed up for 2 weeks. And they
This
came back
sent-
as
this
good
sent
enough friends,
Gemini
they agreed to go on another flight together later on.
Capsules into space.
With the 10 Gemini flights, we were feeling pretty good about our progress. We got the first of the Apollo capsules in 1966, but we wanted to test them around the Earth before we headed away. And to do that, we did not need the massive Saturn V that you see on your bus trip today. We developed a smaller version of Saturn 1B up to the top of the first
So that's the rocket garden
right over here in the
at Kennedy
horizontal
Space Center.
And you will see how we strapped the casings of each of those Redstone rockets together.
Incredible. Incredible stuff.
I don't know what tape they used. People continue to learn. It was good enough. But before we launched anyone on that system,